Hey, what's going on everyone, and welcome back to another video. I apologize for the background noise. It's like 106 here in California today, so I'm leaving my air vent open while I record. It's just so hot in here, so please bear with it. But today I wanted to discuss the successfulness of the Xbox One X so far when it comes to its pre-orders. If you haven't heard already, it is the fastest selling Xbox ever when it comes to pre-orders. It reached Microsoft's expectations. They were expecting pre-orders to last about a week, and this thing sold out in less than a day, including the Project Scorpio edition. I don't think we have exact numbers yet, but I heard from one source that it's around 500,000 units already pre-ordered, which is a pretty big chunk for just the first pre-order wave of the Xbox One X. And going in this, Microsoft knew that this wasn't going to be, a huge seller. They keep saying it's like a premium package, it's for the gamers that want the best of the best, which is obviously a smaller group of consumers compared to the average person that just wants to play games. So going into this mid-gen upgrade, they knew that the Xbox One S is going to be their highest selling console, and that the Xbox One X is just an option, a premium option for the gamers that want the best of the best visuals. But it turns out that more people want the Xbox One X than they anticipated, and I think it sold out faster than we all expected, right? I mean, I didn't even expect it to sell out the first day. I expected it to last at least around 3 days, because I've heard so much negative comments on this console from everywhere that just made me think that people weren't really interested in this. But this is really good news, not just for Microsoft, but for the gaming industry in general. Demand for better hardware is good. It's going to move the gaming industry forward. It's going to push developers to make better games, and it's going to be great for the Xbox One X's library, right? If there's going to be more of a consumer base, that's going to give Microsoft more of a motivation to support this console 110%. Now, going back to the PlayStation 4 Pro, I have nothing against Sony or PlayStation whatsoever, so don't get that out of what I'm about to say. But when PlayStation unveiled and released the PlayStation 4 Pro, they weren't really prepared. They kind of just threw it out there and said it's an option, your games will look better on it, and it seems like it doesn't have much support. It obviously has some support. Games do look better on it, but PlayStation, in my opinion, wasn't really prepared for that mid-gen upgrade. I don't know the exact amount of titles that actually take advantage of its extra hardware power, but compared to the Xbox One X, the Pro is not nearly prepared as Microsoft has prepared for the Xbox One X. Microsoft has taken their time on this console. You can tell just the design of it is amazing. I mean, it's smaller than their weaker console, and it already has 60 plus titles that are taking advantage of the extra hardware power, or as they call it, the Xbox One X enhanced games. There's already 60 plus titles, and the console hasn't even launched yet. So I'm really happy for Microsoft that the Xbox One X is successful so far with just pre-orders. And I really like how they've taken their time on this console. They waited a whole year to release it so they can plan for it, and it's going to pay off in the end, I think. And now that we're finally getting some comparisons now with Digital Foundry on some titles coming to the Xbox One X, we're finally getting a comparison from the X, the Pro, and PC versions of these games, and they're impressive. They really are. You can tell that the Xbox One X is going to have the best visuals for these games. They're basically PC level when you compare them side by side. On Tomb Raider even, you can see right here that the Xbox One X and the PC version are basically the same when it comes to textures, visuals, lighting, like that. And Digital Foundry also got their hands on the PC and Xbox One X version of Forza 7 recently, and the Xbox One X version is actually better than the PC version when it comes to anti-aliasing, which is surprising. You'd think that the PC version would have more of that, but it turns out that the X actually looks sharper and less jaggedy than the PC version, both running 4K at a locked 60 frames per second with no drops whatsoever. So from what we've seen so far, the Xbox One X is actually living up to what Microsoft is presenting it as. It is a powerful machine, and it is capable of doing PC level visuals minus obviously frame rates. But for $500, I mean, you can't really complain. But getting into today's topic, so Tomb Raider, when it came out on PlayStation 4 Pro, it has 3 graphic settings: high fidelity mode, high FPS mode, and enriched mode. And as well, when it's going to be releasing on the Xbox One X in November, it's going to have the same 3 settings, right? High fidelity mode, high FPS mode, and the enriched mode. When it comes to the high FPS mode, obviously it drops the visuals so that the frame rate can go up, which is locked at 60 frames per second for the Xbox One X. And I wanted to point this out because if a game like Tomb Raider, the developers for Tomb Raider are able to put those graphic settings on that game, what's stopping other developers from doing this with games on the Xbox One X? 3 different settings in graphic settings: high fidelity, high FPS mode, and enriched mode. I know it's probably not easy to implement those options and graphic settings on a console version of a game, but how great would that be if all enhanced editions of games for the Xbox One X had those 3 options in graphic settings? How great would that be? That would be the best of both worlds, right? Because the main complaint on the Xbox One X, not just in my opinion, but from what I'm reading in the comment sections of all these YouTube videos that cover Xbox One X, people always say, you know, screw 4K, we just want 1080p 60 frames per second. We'll be happy with that. And a lot of gamers want that, including myself. You know, some gamers are about resolution and they don't care about frame rate, or they don't even know the difference between 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. There's a lot of players that honestly just don't see the difference, which I will never come to understand how you can't tell. But anyway, that's not the point. I'd say almost half the player base wants higher frames per second. So I'm really hoping that more games like Tomb Raider have options in graphic settings where we can change if we want higher frames or we want higher visuals. I mean, this option could even be added in future updates. It would solve all the consoles issue, right? Because a lot of games are going to be running in 4K at 30 frames per second. And because they are running in 4K, that is what's causing the 30 frames per second. If this console was, you know, marketed as just a powerful console and the 4K was taken off, you and I both know that most of these games would be 60 frames per second because they would be running at 1080p. But I understand Microsoft is going for the 4K thing, so most of the games will be running in 4K. But it comes down to it's up to the developer what resolution the game's going to be running at. But I just think it would be the best of both worlds if most titles at least had an option for high FPS mode in their graphic settings. It's probably asking for a lot because, like I said, I'm not a game developer. I don't know how easy that is to implement on a console version of a game. It's probably more difficult than it seems, but it would be the greatest thing ever for the Xbox One X. It would satisfy both sides. Literally, everyone would be happy. The people that want higher frame rate, they can lower their settings, get a higher frame rate in high FPS mode. The people that don't care can keep it on high fidelity mode. It would be great. And I think other titles as well on PlayStation 4 Pro have this option. I'm not too sure on that because I don't own one. I don't really keep up to date on PlayStation. I believe more titles than just Tomb Raider have that high FPS mode option in the graphic settings. So hopefully more titles coming to Xbox One X have this graphic setting option available for us to choose from. But either way, I am so excited for this console. I got my pre-order in and I cannot wait for November 7th so I can finally test this console out. So let me know down in the comment section what you think about this high FPS mode for upcoming Xbox One X titles. Do you care about higher frame rate or do you prefer higher fidelity and higher resolution? And let me know, did you get your pre-order in for the Xbox One X? And before you go, make sure to subscribe here at Rajant Productions for more Xbox One X news, updates, and discussions just like this. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next video.